not every extinction is forever. Time and again, it turns out that some animals considered to be gone suddenly reappear or were never really searched for properly. In this video, I'll introduce you to 7 species for which clues, sightings, or scientific discoveries suggest they might still exist somewhere. Stay tuned until the end. The last animal is a legend and a hope for the future. Number 7. Fernandina Giant Tortoise. For a long time, it was considered a legend, a giant tortoise on Fernandina, one of the most remote Galapagos Islands. The Fernandina Giant Tortoise was last documented in 1906 and then not seen again for over 100 years. Scientists assumed that the species had gone extinct due to volcanic activity and introduced predators. But hope remained. Again and again, they discovered signs of the giant tortoise. Researchers found tortoise tracks on Fernandina, but never an actual animal. Then in 2019 came the turning point. A team of researchers actually found a living female, alone but healthy. Genetic tests later confirmed it. It is indeed Chelonoidis fantasticus. A second specimen was also discovered in 2022. The discovery impressively shows how inaccessible and unexplored even small islands can be. Whether more animals are still hiding or if these are the last representatives of their species remains unclear. Number 6. The Caspian Tiger. The Caspian Tiger was one of the largest tigers in the world, and at the same time, one of the most mysterious. It once lived in the vast plains of Central Asia, from Turkey to northern Iran and into the steppes of Kazakhstan. Officially, it has been considered extinct since the 1970s, but not everyone agrees with this. From remote regions of Tajikistan and Iran, there are repeated reports of large striped big cats, bigger than leopards, but with a different build than the Siberian tiger. In 2005, researchers analyzed DNA samples of Caspian tigers and found that they are almost genetically identical to the Siberian tiger. Some biologists therefore believe that smaller populations may have retreated along the river valleys. In particular, the Tigrovaya Balka, a nature reserve in Tajikistan, is considered a possible refuge. Although definitive proof is lacking, if such a large predator had survived in the vastness of Asia, it would be a biological sensation. Number 5. The Volcano Rabbit, also known as the Zakatuche, is one of the rarest rabbits in the world and the smallest in North America. It lives exclusively in the high altitudes of the volcanoes around Mexico City at over 3,000 meters above sea level. For a long time, the species was considered functionally extinct. Its habitats were massively destroyed by agriculture and urbanization. Many researchers assumed that it was no longer viable. But surprisingly, new populations were discovered in 2020. Small but genetically healthy. The animals survived in tiny niches protected by steep mountain slopes and dense grasslands. This case shows how even animals near large cities can survive in the shadows. Undiscovered, underestimated, but not gone. An impressive example of the resilience of an underestimated species. Number 4. The Labrador Duck. The Labrador duck is one of the few bird species in North America that has gone extinct since colonial times. It officially disappeared in the 19th century. The last confirmed record dates from 1875. But since then, there have repeatedly been confusing sightings, especially along the coasts of Newfoundland and in the St. Lawrence Gulf. Birdwatchers report sea ducks with unusual coloration patterns and striking bills, features that strongly resemble historical descriptions of the Labrador duck. Confirmation is still pending, but DNA studies on closely related species suggest that hybrid forms may exist, or that small groups may have survived in remote bays. Even though there is no solid evidence, the Labrador duck is an example of how even supposedly well-studied regions can still hold surprises. Number 3. The Atlas bear. The Atlas bear was the only bear species in Africa. It lived in the mountainous regions of the Atlas Mountains in Morocco and Algeria, and likely disappeared in the 19th century. In the 19th century, it was killed, driven out, and displaced by human settlement. Yet there are repeated reports of large, bear-like animals in the remote forests of Morocco's Rif Mountains. Hikers and hunters report tracks that do not match those of other predators, as well as sightings of a massive, dark animal that quickly disappears into the thicket. Zoologists do not consider it entirely impossible that small, overlooked groups have survived. Perhaps even genetically, related to Eurasian brown bears. Cave paintings in the region also attest to the historical presence of these animals. Whether the Atlas bear still lives or only continues to exist in the DNA of regional populations, its shadow has not completely disappeared to this day. Number 2. Giant wild boar of Papua New Guinea. In the remote highlands of Papua New Guinea, locals have been reporting for generations about an animal called the giant pua. It is said to be twice as large as ordinary wild boars, with enormous tusks and thick fur. Some reports even mention a length of over 2 meters. Western researchers have never seen such an animal alive, but in 1994, bone fragments were found that could belong to a previously unknown, oversized species of pig. The zoologist D. Bomer described it as evolutionarily plausible, since Papua New Guinea, due to its isolation, has produced many endemic species. Satellite images show that over 60% of the country is almost unexplored. Dense rainforests, steep slopes, and culturally isolated regions make biological surveys difficult. Whether it is a primitive species of pig, a new species, or just a local exaggeration, the mystery of the giant wild boar remains unsolved. But as is often the case in Papua, just because we don't find something doesn't mean it isn't there. Number 1. The woolly mammoth. Hardly any extinct animal fascinates as much as the woolly mammoth. These Ice Age giants lived in North America, Europe, and Siberia, and supposedly disappeared around 4,000 years ago. The last known populations lived on Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean. But reports of mammoths have not ceased. In the 19th and 20th century, stories kept surfacing from reindeer hunters and Siberian natives who claimed to have seen large, hairy elephants, deep in the permafrost, far from any civilization. Even modern satellite images from Yakutia show inexplicable movement patterns of large animals. Some theories suggest that small populations of mammoths could have survived in swamp and tundra regions, protected by isolation and extreme cold. The DNA of the mammoth is well preserved. There are serious attempts to bring the animals back through genetics, but perhaps that's not even necessary. Maybe somewhere, one is still trudging along. In the depths of Siberia, a real living descendant of the Ice Age still trudges through the snow.